everybody, and welcome on into Sidelines. I'm Drew Patrick. On today's episode, we review the cross-country trip up to New York City, plus we preview the upcoming start of the sprint football season. Welcome on into Sidelines. Let's continue and talk cross-country, as joining me here at the desk, we have Derek Simpson and Seth Neal. Thank you both so much for showing up.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
So let's jump right into this past week, the longest road trip, really the first road trip of the year, kind of a trip up to New York City, and a pretty tough race there against Division I competition. Kind of, how do you gauge yourself in a race when you know the competition is so high?
So really, going into this race, we knew we were going to be one of like a D2 school running against D1 competition. That was a starter. And you got to kind of just think about that even though we're at different levels, it doesn't mean that we can't beat or we can't do well against D1 schools. You just have to run your own race, follow a race plan, and kind of just move forward and have personal growth.
For us, it was really just about following the race plan and getting the feel for longer races. Mm-hmm. It was pretty much just for time. We weren't looking for place, and I think we did pretty all right with that.
Yeah, nothing like getting thrown into a fire at a division. Your first 8K of your career being thrown into a Division I race. So obviously, on this road trip, being able to go up to New York and to be able to run at really a pretty historic course, how much weight do you guys put in the courses you get to run, or kind of adjust to courses on the fly? What's kind of your, I guess, strategy to adjust to each course you run on?
Really, it's an in-the-moment type of thing. You have to see what a terrain's like, because if you don't get to see the course beforehand, it's you got to make a move here. You got to kind of know. Usually, like cross-country courses loop, so you'll always see something again. Like if you know there's a hill on your second time around, you got to know that that's either where you have to push or that's where you have to keep steady and work your way through it, and to use the terrain as best as possible.
Yeah, for that first course, it was really hard to adjust in the middle of it because of all the hills that we didn't expect, but we just had to push through that first mile and hold on for the rest of the race.
And Derek, for you, kind of a breakout type race here. First 8K, no problem for you. What was kind of the things that in your race that you noticed were working for you, and kind of your race plan and your strategy in that?
Well, I tried using the hills when I went down to gain some more speed and regain my energy back. And honestly, I didn't expect to have such a good race, but I had a lot of energy at the end, so I just decided to sprint at the end.
And you guys are a really young team, but to have a freshman come in and really be this effective for you guys as well, how much confidence does that give the rest of the team? Plus, I mean, I'm not saying you had a great race yourself too, but I'm saying, but to be able to have a freshman come in and really be a factor for an already young team, how much confidence does that give you guys for the future?
That pushes it over the edge at this point, because seeing how well like we did last year with just us, like David, me, Abe, Simon, just how young we were, and seeing how well we could do towards the end, having two really good freshmen come in and start putting down times that are blowing proportions out of the water it's mind-blowing to see that we could be really good in the PSAC and really good just in the regional meet as well.
So with this race being up in New York, you had an opportunity really to kind of explore a little bit. How was that aspect for you guys, and what were some of the fun things that you had the opportunity to really just kind of walk around and see?
It was kind of fun that we went to a few stores. We went and experienced Times Square. We got to see the cathedral. Some of us went over there. It was fun to experience the night city life of New York City, which I think a lot of us did enjoy it as well.
It was really different from Mansfield, seeing as that's a huge city and this is a small town, but I think we all really enjoyed seeing all the different people and the different stores that we don't have here.
Yeah, a bit of a culture, definitely a culture shock from a year or two in New York City. So this point of the season, kind of getting towards that middle, but you have kind of a week where you can really focus on training here coming up. What are going to be throughout this week your main focuses?
Well, I think it's going to be learning to run at a faster pace, and being able to then hold it just that little bit longer, at least for the men. For the women, they've been doing a really good job at keeping doing the race plan and doing it well, and they're just excelling at it. For us, we need to just we need to take a minute and think about how to hold on to a race and how, with going out fast, to keep going and then still have that, if some of us do like to kick at the end, have that last little kick.
This week is definitely going to be an important one because we're just trying to get up mileage and get our endurance going and stick with the race plan a little bit more.
So also the next time you're on a course will be on the road. Again, another long trip. So how do you kind of adjust and get yourself kind of mentally prepared for those long trip meets?
Well, it's about talking with our friends, talking with our teammates, just having something to do and not think about the race until, have that race mindset in the back of your head, not on the forefront where it's the only thing you can think about. It's with being a student athlete, it's about being a student and athlete, but also the experiences we can gain along the way with going to such really cool places and running in amazing places.
Yeah, a good thing about having this close of a team is that we distract each other pretty well about the race. So, and while we go up there for the race, we also do like to experience the new place that we're going to, and that's always fun to do with the team.
Have that team bonding too, an already close team. Those long road trips get you closer, absolutely. So with you guys on here, kind of looking forward, what are kind of your goals and expectations for yourselves and for the team this year?
For me personally, I want to try and be in the top 50 of the PSAC because I was close to the top 100 last year, and I had a really great summer, and I'm coming into a program that we've changed the race plan. I think I can get a hold of it and do really well with it. And as a team, I think we have a really good shot at not being in the bottom third this year, which would be a really cool culture shock to put on the PSAC and show that we are a really good team and that we're young and that we can leave a mark.
There. So your goals, obviously this being your first year here, kind of your individual goals, either coming in or now that you've had an opportunity, if they've changed at all.
So I really want to get a really good 8K time since that's going to be the main race. And then also 10K, but that's going to be a little bit of an adjustment. I haven't really been thinking much about where I'm going to stand in the PSAC, but top 50 in the PSAC sounds like a good goal for me to have.
Well, thank you both so much for taking the time and stopping by.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
And Sidelines continues after this. Do not go anywhere.
It's all part of Mother Nature's perfect blend. the keystone of the Keystone State. Visit Potter Tioga, a 2-county scenic outdoor haven conveniently located, yet worlds apart. A place where you can kick back, unwind, and forget about the pressures of life. Disconnect and reconnect with your friends, family, or even yourself while surrounded by nature's beauty. So start planning your adventures today at visitpottertioga.com.
Welcome back to Sidelines. Let's talk cross country. As joining me at the desk, we have Anna Duncan and Angie Cologne. Thank you both so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having us.
So I'll start with, of course, homecoming. Like your homecoming. How did it feel to be back, kind of in the city with this meet?
It felt so good just to be back home. Not home, but home. This was a course I raced on multiple times in high school, so it felt really good to come back. And like, obviously, I'm stronger than I was in high school, so it felt good to be able to just run the course, and like, it was fun for me. Yeah.
And so this was a long trip. This was a long drive, a long trip. What do you kind of have to do on those long trips to kind of mentally prepare yourselves for the day, for the race, for the weekend, so to speak?
Well, definitely heading to New York Friday evening, it was making sure we're eating enough, making sure we're hydrating enough, since we do race early Saturday morning. And trying to stay loose as much as possible on a bus is kind of hard. But yeah, hydration and food was important.
Yeah, I agree with what she said. A lot of it comes down to, even though that you're on that bus for hours and hours and you probably have so much other work to do, you have to keep in mind that we're traveling for a mission. We're traveling to compete. We need to stay in that headspace, and we need to just get ourselves mentally prepared.
So let's go to the race. What were some of the things that you saw? Division I competition. First of all, it's a tough field that you are in. So let's start there. So knowing that it's the Division I competition that you're against, do you kind of weigh that at all, or is it another race and they happen to be the teams? How do you kind of approach that?
Since it was a new course to everyone, minus myself, it was more of just, let's just go out there and see what happens. We did go into the race knowing there were going to be D1 teams, and some of us were able to keep up with them, which was kind of cool, but it didn't really impact our own race mindset.
I would agree. We just have to go into it knowing it's just another competition. Like, we're here for a reason again, and we shouldn't let their division take anything away from us, because obviously Carly went out there and she beat most of the D1 racers, so it's not out of our wheelhouse to be able to do it.
So yeah, walk me through the race, both of you. A little friendly competition, I've noticed you guys, roommates, kind of going back and forth throughout there, but that's always great to have. But walk me through the race. What were some of the things that led to your success?
Well, maybe not so much a success, but the heat was definitely a huge factor. We weren't expecting it to be that warm, so the starting line and most of the finish is all in the sun. So that was something we knew going into the race, like, it's going to be in the sun, but once we got into the woods trails area, it was all shady, and then it turned into hills, and it was like 100-foot climb up in 1 mile. But it was kind of cool to see, like, Anna right in front of me, and it really helped me. Okay, Anna's right there. You got to keep going. You got to keep going. But yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. We stayed as a big clump during like the flat part when we started. Everyone was together. Everybody could see each other. That's the way that we're supposed to go out. Stayed with each other as much as possible. Push hard on that first mile, and then we got into the first mile. We started breaking apart. Obviously, we had that uphill, which is kind of weird for us because most of our races this year have been flat, and the rest of them are going to be closer to being like lower elevation. So adjusting to that was huge, but the end was like a sharp decline, then into flat, and being able to like be with Angie during the whole race gave me that mental capacity to be like, she's right there with me, like, we gotta go.
Yeah, that cardiac hill practice, right?
Exactly.
That's got to help in some way, right?
Oh.
So, what can you take away from this race? What were some of the things that really stood out to you that you can take into this week? Where really this week is kind of a week where you can focus on training. What can you take from that race, knowing that there was a lot of elevation and a lot of extra things thrown in you that you can take going forward?
hydrating well, and it just showed that like our top 4, we were all together in the beginning, and it shows like during workouts that the 4 of us can stay together. If we could stay together during races, we could stay together during practices. So it helps us like all mentally, like be able to run. So.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's really important for us as that group of 4 to realize that we are at that level. We can stay with D1 runners and we can train just like they do. And it's only going to push us to keep going and working and getting better.
How important is that? Like, for those who don't really understand the pack mentality and really how much of a benefit that is, walk us through that. Like, how much of a benefit is it to be able to run kind of like a pack, a group? Does that for the confidence and for the scoring?
It definitely helps. Now that our names are on the back of our jerseys, we can clearly see who's in front of us. So when I saw Duncan across, I was like, there she is. But during the beginning of our race, Carly will call out our names to make sure that we're all there. We're like, here, here, whatever, to make sure that we're all together. And it helps us mentally saying, she's right there, she's right there. And it just, yeah, it helps a lot. So.
Especially with the scoring, like we know that as like the middle pack of the runners, we need to maintain that higher like position because it's really important for us to keep the points low. Because if we keep the points low, we do better as a team overall. And obviously Carly's going to go up there and she is going to get that low position, and we just have to keep up with her. And being with each other in that pack, knowing that we are working for someone else and not just ourselves, is a big motivator for the race.
Yeah, scoring the displacement you can do when you have a pack like that, you can sneak up the boards there on a lot of those results. So obviously the next meet is going to be another long road trip. So to take away from this one, what can you take? Obviously we talked about the hydration factor, but what are some of the things knowing, well, you just had a long trip and you've been able to overcome it and you got another one coming up?
Well, not this weekend, but next weekend we'll be going to Vermont, and none of us have been to that course, so it's definitely going to be interesting, and it's the first time the women are running an 8K, where we normally run 5K, so I'm definitely excited for the up and distance, and we train hard. Our long runs are long enough that we will be able to race the 5 miles that it is, and again, the preparation and staying hydrated and trying to stay loose on those long bus rides. But our team is good, so.
You got to install those treadmills on
Yeah.
the buses at this point. I saw you shaking your head, though, at the increase in mileage, Anna.
Yeah, so I run like mid-distance during track, so like 800, 1500. So this is a big jump in distance for me. I think for me and then anyone else, because Carrie is also a 1500 runner, we just have to mentally get ready to know that this is going to be a lot longer than what we're used to. And it's going to be an adjustment for sure, but I think in the long run it's going to improve us for the better.
So let's kind of put a bow on the New York trip because, of course, it was kind of a homecoming for you, but to be able to really kind of explore New York later in that night, what was that like and what were some of the things that stood out for you guys?
Well, we traveled together because you don't separate us. So, and my family was there, so we gave them like the New York style trip, and we took them like a bunch of different places, and that was really cool because most of our team is from like PA, so they're not used to like a really big city like that, so it was cool to see like a different side of them like out in the world.
Yeah, it was definitely a slight adjustment. I think the biggest takeaway was the way that I almost yelled when I saw a rat the size of a squirrel.
She did, that's true.
Not really used to that in Central PA, but it was definitely a nice like break from being at school all the time, being able to see something different, get away from the atmosphere of just constantly working.
Yes, Tioga County and New York City are very different and dynamic. But thank you both so very much for taking the time and stopping by here
Thank
today.
you.
Thank you.
And Sidelines continues after this. Do not go anywhere.
Pride and passion drives the Pennsylvania State Athletic Conference. From 55 NCAA championship teams, 294 individual national champs, and counting. Who's next? Make the PSAC yours. PSAC Proud is winning in athletics and in the classroom. Over 3,100 PSAC student athletes are honored as scholar athletes. It's a perfect mix of athletics and academics. It's time to make the PSAC yours.
Welcome back to Sidelines. Let's talk sprint football as it is officially game week. And joining me at the desk, two members of the offense, Terrence Quaker, Sid Raymond. Thank you both so much for stopping by.
No problem. Thank you for having us on.
So a bit of kind of juxtaposition between the two of you heading into this season. Sid, of course, you're coming off an MVP season, and Terrence, you're coming back from an injury.
Yeah.
However, Caldwell is the opponent this week, and obviously left a bad taste in your mouth at the end of last year. So gauging all of those things, what has the preparation been for the both of you this year thus far?
I mean, for me, starting, it was just getting healthy again, and for me, that was a really long process. I mean, I blew out my hamstring first game week, Cornell last season, but it took 4 full months of recovery and doing a bunch of rehab. But I mean, I think the beauty of like being hurt though last year was like I kind of got to grow more as a leader, and I learned a lot more about myself, and I got to know the guys a lot better, and like it just made me. It's gonna make me appreciate the game a ton more this season. I mean, watching from the sideline last season when like like I could have made an impact, kind of like it does play a little toll on your mind, but I'm just grateful to be back and healthy.
Yeah, going off about what he said, like when we played Caldwell last season, it wasn't like a lot of guys gave up and we didn't like finish as a team. A lot of guys was just wanted to do what they had like on their own. But now like as we we came back as the same team, and we got a few new guys on our team, and like as us being leaders. And they see us being leaders, they look up to us, and then they actually see and actually know what's going on. But heading into Caldwell is gonna be fun. Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about the leadership thing, because again, Terrence, you just said like last year had the opportunity to really learn to grow into that role.
Yeah.
Because Sid, yes, a sophomore, but I mean you're the starting quarterback of the team, going to have to move into that leadership role. How do you guys kind of find that leadership, and do you lead kind of by example, by words? Like, what is kind of your leadership style?
So this is actually like my first year actually being a leader. Like so like I go off like Brandon DeJesus, like this, he's a great leader, and I take from him, and Kane Berger and Matt Beach, I take from Matt Rivera, I take from those guys, and they just I see those guys, and I'm like, I want to be like them. Like I want to like become a leader like them. So that's what I piggyback off them guys, and they showed me how to be a leader, and that's what I became.
Yeah, and going off of what he said, so my freshman year, we had this strong safety, DeJuan Bowie. I mean, everyone remembers him, but he kind of took me under his wing, and like he was just such a good leader. And like being a freshman, I had a bunch of good upperclassmen that took good care of me. So. Like when there was a COVID year, all those guys were gone. So when we came back last year, I mean, I think there was maybe 3 guys in my returning class that were back. So like I kind of had to learn to be like a leader, like faster, like on this football team.
And of course, not only guys like DeJuan Bowie, guys like Brandon DeJesus, but also you've seen leaders from the track team as well.
Yeah.
Guys like Donovan Cook, like Sean Ringgold too.
Yes.
So kind of taking from each and every one of those.
Yeah.
And so how do you turn that leadership style with a group of, there's a lot of newcomers here who are going to have to be key contributors. So how do you go from learning that leadership style to getting it to happen on the field?
I think it starts out with just like character and like what it is really to be a Mountie. Like, you know what I mean? You do this, you do the right things, it's not a me team, it's about a we team. And just doing all the little things right, being positive with them. I mean, they're freshmen, they're going to make mistakes, but I think just being positive with them and just like being like a guy they can turn and look to when they need something, whether it's on the football field or in the classroom, wherever it may be, just being there for one another.
Yeah. And look, so looking at this game, again, going to this week, obviously 51 points and 51-6 was how it ended last year. A promising season, an MVP season, a season where you were chomping at the bit to get in, and that happens to be the first team you get to see this year on their home turf.
Yeah.
How much weight, excuse me, how much weight do you put in to that game, or do you just wipe the slate clean?
I mean, to start off, I think like you remember what happened last year, but you also have to understand like we're a new Mansfield team this year. They're a new Caldwell team this year. I think when you look back at that Caldwell game, if you really look, when you turn, I mean, for Mansfield, for us, we turned the ball over 11 times. Any team that turns the ball over 11 times isn't going to win a single football game. So I think it plays well into our favor though, because I believe they have Army week 2. So like I'm hoping that they kind of overlook us a little bit, like, oh, we smacked these guys last year, so we should have our way with them again. You know, we're looking towards Army, but it's a great opportunity. It's going to be a war down there. I mean, the reality is if we want to make the championship, it starts with this game, you know. Yeah. Whoever loses this game, you know, your chances of getting into the title game are very slim.
And going into Caldwell, we all got to be, you know, confident and have our heads up. Nobody can't play behind. We got to work together as a team. Coaching staff, we got to coach as a team. Everybody just got to be on the same page. Everybody got to go in with their heads up and not willing to, you know, cause penalties and things like that. We just need to, you know, like Coach Evans said, we got to play up and let them play from behind.
So personally for you guys, what is kind of the next step in growth? Obviously coming back from an injury on one side, trying to deal with, again, an MVP thing, great, but then you have to come back. And so coming back from that, a great season, coming back from an injury, what are kind of the personal things you're hoping to do to take that next step?
Just learning how to, you know, like I said, just learning how to just be a quarterback more, as in like throwing the ball a lot more and less on the running. Learning how to, you know, read defenses and just, you know, just becoming a smarter, better quarterback than what I was last season. Because last season was an okay season for me. You know, I want a ring. I don't want MVP. Don't matter to me. I want a ring, and I want to win a ring with this team. So that's important to me. And just, you know, like you said, being a leader and letting them guys know that, you know, I got their back and they got mine. So that's really it.
Yeah, and I think for me, I mean, coming back from an injury, I mean, I had a great track season. I had a really good off season in the summer working out. Personally, for me, I'm just excited to get back on the field and play. But I mean, I haven't played a game since November 1st, 2019 against Army West Point. But I'm just excited for the opportunity to be back on the field, back at running back. My freshman year, I was people called him Sauce, but I was David Butler's backup. But we were so thin in the secondary, they moved me over. I ended up having a really good season over there. But I'm just excited to play, and I'm not going to say too much on it, but him and I are very complimentary of each other, so I'm excited to see what we can do on the field together.
So without getting too far into it, what's going to be the key, either between you two or offensively, to find success against this Caldwell squad?
I mean, they're probably one of the most physical teams in the league. I think if we just play disciplined football, do our jobs, take care of the football, don't turn it over, I think we'll be fine. Yeah. I think we got to be okay with times, you know, we're not going to rip off an 80-yard touchdown every single play. We got to be okay with getting in 4 or 5. Then maybe you burst out for 15. So we just got to take what we can get and just go in with, like he said, a level head and just, you know, be ready.
Just be smart, like you said, protect the ball. And like I continue to say, we just got to go in there and be smart and hold our heads up, because like he said, they are a physical team, and there's a lot of guys on the team, you know, that talks, and we just, you know, that's why we plays a part as being leaders and telling the freshmen to keep their head, because they, like he said, they are very physical, and we're gonna play a part, but we need the other guys to play a part as well. So.
Yeah. And of course, the other thing too, to kind of bounce off that is, it is on the road. The first game of the year is a longer road trip that you guys will have to take. And so to kind of let the new athletes or some of the athletes who haven't had that full experience, like to travel for a collegiate game, which any newcomer is in that spot, again, going back to the leadership thing, what do you guys have to do to kind of keep everyone level-headed for that? When you're on the road, obviously Caldwell, being the home team, is going to probably control the atmosphere at the start of that game. So to be able to corral everyone, control everyone, especially on offense where it's going to be loud, what do you have to do to try and win that aspect of the game?
I think just tell the younger guys, just stay calm, be focused, be ready. I mean, my freshman year when we went down to Caldwell, I mean, they have a great band, they have great cheerleaders, they have a huge crowd. I mean, it's going to be a Saturday night game. It's going to be packed. It's going to be loud. And, I mean, we're just going to have to play our game and just stay focused, just tune the outside noise out, just go play our game.
Yeah, and like back off what he said, a lot of guys then come from big schools and not a lot of fans. So having, letting them know, like, you know, it's going to be packed, it's going to be loud, you know, just stay focused, don't get like discouraged, just like, you know, just play your game and everything will be turned off.
Yeah.
So we just got to keep a level head and keep them focused, you know, and we'll be fine.
So not trying to look past this game, obviously, but looking for this season, your goals, either personally or as the team, what are kind of the things you hope to accomplish this year?
We want to accomplish beating Caldwell week 1.
Yeah.
And we beat Caldwell week 1, we can go 5-0 our first 5 games, and that's when we start getting into business. So, as in right now, we just trying to, you know, work as a team right now and build off, you know, because we had, you know, a couple cases of COVID and things like that. So we trying to get back in the lab and, you know, get back to what we was doing before, you know, we had that incident. So that's what we're trying to accomplish right now in beating Caldwell. So.
Yeah. And just like he said, the James Franklin motto, want to know every week, that's the goal. But, I mean, I truly believe this team, if we do all the right things, stay healthy, do the little things right, go 1-0 every week, go undefeated, and, you know, finally make that championship game. It seems like we've had teams in the past where, like, we talk about it every year, but it's just some point in the season, you know, we're just short, you know, at the end of every year. So, you know, I want to break that trend.
Well, I'm looking forward to this season. I know you guys are chomping at the bit to have your first game, and thank you both so much for taking the time to stop me by.
Yeah, thank you for having us on.
And Sidelines continues after this. Do not go anywhere. And that's going to do it for this week, folks. To stay up to date on all things Mansfield Athletics, head over to GoMounties.com. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.